You're listening to
My Mama's Daughter. Today, we celebrate Mother's Day.
by talking about motherhood and the joys and challenges it brings.
Mom!
Hi,
Welcome back to My Mama's Daughter.
I'm Gabby.
And I'm Allie.
We've asked a few of our friends just to answer a couple questions and tell us what motherhood has been for them. And it was really nice that they said yes. So we're going to share that throughout the show.
Like we mentioned in the first episode that you guys saw on Wednesday, my mom became a mother at 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you kind of tell us about that? I mean, what did you expect it to be like, and how was it different from that?
Well, I knew I always wanted to be a mom, and I was very excited to become a mom. Like, I was just dying to have a baby. So I always wanted, I remember having a doll that you squeezed her stomach and she'd cry, and she was like life size, and those are the kind of things that I just wanted a baby all the time. My sister was pregnant with Jackie, my goddaughter, and she was 9 months pregnant when I got married. And I just remember thinking, gosh, that's going to be me soon. I just couldn't wait. So
Wow.
the fact that I was 20 and I didn't have you till I was 22, that was like, we waited a couple years because we did want to.
You waited on purpose, or were you trying?
No, we weren't really trying because we were going to school. We bought a house, and I think we kind of purposely said, okay, let's just adjust to marriage. We
You
were
bought
working.
a house at 20?
Yes, we did. We thought we were old. We thought we were like very mature. So
Which is funny because now you act like a reverse. It's like you Benjamin Buttoned.
we did. Well, when we went on our honeymoon, we couldn't even drink.
I know, that's so crazy.
And then I was pregnant when I turned 21. It's like we missed out on all those little milestones in our life.
You were never drunk in the club.
No, I was never drunk in the clubs. That's why I'm crazy now. I was like never crazy then, but now I'm crazy. But anyway, that's what I wanted to be, is a mom. And I think that once I became a mom, it was like, oh my gosh, I love it. It's like I couldn't, this is exactly what I wanted. And it was everything I wanted. And people say that, oh my gosh, you're going to love your baby. And I did. And I remember giving you a bath, especially you, because you were the first one. And
I know, I have the most baby pictures, I think. Kristen asked where her baby photo book was the other day.
Shut up.
And I was like, I don't think you have one.
But I love them more than I love you. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but when I used to look at them and just oh my gosh, I created this baby. It was just so not real to me. I can't believe that we made this baby. That a mother's love is just unexplainable, I guess.
Unconditional.
And unconditional, because your kids could do the stupidest things sometimes, and I mean, you would piss me off a lot, and I still.
Kristen did too.
Yeah, all three of you did.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure you're going to continue to piss me off, but we still love you, and I knew it would not be easy, and it wasn't, and
you had all natural
yes.
in the sense that you
because
didn't
my
have
mom
to use IVF or anything.
No, the only thing was it was really hard because when I was pregnant with you, I was 7 months pregnant, and then I started having contractions early on, so I had to be on bed rest. I was on bed rest with you at 7 months, and then when I got pregnant with Kristen, like I mentioned in the last episode, is when my dad had a stroke. So both my sister and I were pregnant.
Oh, yeah, I forget.
We were both under a lot of stress and anxiety, and we were both having contractions very early on. We were both on a different kind of bed rest where I couldn't get up at all, and we were monitored with this belt, and the nurse had a call every day. We made it work, but the pregnancies were tough. And then my mom told me not to get an epidural for a lot of different reasons.
What the heck?
So
Why?
I didn't for the first two.
Why? What did Auntie Loopy say?
I don't think that she did either, except for the twins, maybe.
I find it hard to believe that she had
No, I don't think she did.
5 kids. My Auntie Loopy has 5 kids. They're all crazy, and I love them to death. like my own siblings. Sometimes more. Just kidding.
Well, I think the twins had to because they were cesarean, but the other three, I don't think she did either. We'll have to double check with her. But anyway, I did it with you two, and I did it. It was like whatever.
Oh my God, no. I'm taking every
well
kind of drug possible.
Let me tell you. So with Gavin, I thought, let me try it because he's gonna be. This is it. I'm not gonna have any more after this. And oh my God, it was the best thing ever. I can't believe I didn't do it with the other two.
Wait, but time out, did you tear?
No, because my doctor, Dr. Barini in Torrance, she told me, I'm not going to let you tear. Because she would go...
How do you not let them tear?
Because she said that she would go in there and like... Jessica knows, probably. Jessica's my niece who's
She's
a nurse.
labor and delivery nurse.
She would go in there and like massage it because I said, I don't want to tear. She said episiotomies were worse because then you have to heal and all that. So she went in there and basically stretched my vagina. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, epidurals all the way, I think. But if you don't get an epidural, it's doable. I did it twice.
Well, not for everyone.
It's either way. I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm saying that when I did it, I felt like, oh.
So you're telling me that Wita had 7 children without an epidural?
Yes. Yeah. And she did it by herself because back then, dads didn't go in there, or at least my dad didn't go in there.
That's crazy.
I know.
Wita.
And they would have had more, but Wita had 2 miscarriages.
I was going to say, she had 2.
Yes.
Just 2. Did you have any miscarriages?
No, but with Gavin.
Oh, yeah, he ate his
really
twin.
Sad. No, he didn't eat his twin. Don't say that.
You wouldn't.
No. When I was early on, it was 3.5 or 4 months, I started bleeding, and I was on bed rest with all 3 of you.
Wait, I didn't know this.
Well, that's because you don't listen. Anyway, when I had Gavin, I was pregnant with him also, bed rest again, and I went in because I was bleeding, but like more than usual. And the nurse came in and they asked, okay, do a ultrasound. And then she did, and she's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's just, the nurse is just talking to me, and she said something like, well, it's normal. It's just that one of the sacs, I don't remember the word she said, but basically one of the sacs just went away or washed out.
So you miscarried.
One of the sacs. And I was like, what? So when my doctor came in, I was kind of like shocked, and I said, so there was 2? And she's like, what? And then I go, that's what she just said. And then she says, well, yes, but it wasn't going to develop, and she kind of had to explain that. So there was 2. So that's kind of sad, but Gavin was perfect. So after Gavin, my doctor says I can't have any more because I was always on bed rest, and it was going to either every time I'd have to be on bed rest, and it wasn't going to be healthy for me or for the baby. She just didn't think that I could handle it, and it could be life-threatening for me, so I couldn't have any more kids.
How many did you want?
I kind of wanted 5.
5?
So now I'm
so glad you stopped with 3.
Anyway, I love motherhood. I'm very happy that I am a mother, and grateful that I am a mother, because I know that for some it's not easy, or for some they can't be a mother so easily. So even though I did have challenges holding a baby and getting pregnant again, I feel that I'm lucky and I'm grateful for having my 3. Mm-hmm.
And now we want you guys to hear from some of our new mamas who are celebrating their first Mother's Day. So big congrats to them. And now you'll get to watch what they think about motherhood and what they were expecting of it and the best advice that they received from their mom.
Good morning. Hello. Oh my gosh. Hi. Say hello. Say hello. So the best advice that my mom ever gave me was to eat dinner together as a family. And I think the best part about being a new mom might be the smile that I get from her and the snuggles, the cuddles. Huh. Yeah, and just teaching her new things and seeing the world through fresh eyes. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye, camera. Oh, hiccups.
What is my favorite part about being a new mom? And I feel like that question is really hard to answer because right off the bat, I can think of 10 things that are my favorite part, and I feel like everything is my favorite. But, oh, bless you. Bless you. The main thing that I think just sums up everything is just, I think it's pretty incredible how your heart grows and opens up and the love that you can have for your child. And I would always hear people say you don't know what love is until you meet your baby, and I kind of thought like, yeah, I can imagine, and I feel like I already know what love is, and I'm sure it won't be that different. If you've loved once, you know, then you'll have that same type of love, but it really is so different, and it's one of those things that you can't really put into words until you meet your baby for the first time. So for me, that's just been my favorite part, is just, I don't know, experiencing different feelings and different emotions that I've never felt before. What do you think about that? The next question is, what was the best advice or the best thing I learned from my mom? And I feel like that's also a question that's really hard to answer because my mom is a great mom, and there's so many things that I learned from her and that I take with me and how I raise my daughter. But I think the biggest thing is just the fact that my mom was always there for me as a parent, but also as a friend. I felt like I could talk to her about anything, and you know, there was nothing, no matter how heavy of a topic it was, that I couldn't come to her and discuss with her. And just with having a daughter, I want her to always feel like she can talk to me about the hard stuff and the good stuff and the scary things and, you know, fears, anxieties, any of that. And bless you. Of course, I know there'll be really hard times, but I just want her to know that I'm always going to be here for her, just the same way that my mom was there for me. So that's all. Thanks for having us. Say bye.
One of the best things about being a new mom, I would just have to say, is the way that Lucy makes me feel when I walk into a room. She just lights up, grins from ear to ear, is absolutely beaming, and it just makes me feel so good. I've just never been wanted so much by somebody in my entire life. It's just the best feeling. And one of the things that my mom taught me about being a mom, she taught by doing, she taught by her actions. So she was just always hardworking, always independent, always persevered despite her circumstances. And that was just something that was so admirable to me, and something that I still look up to her for still to this day. So happy Mother's Day.
Thank you guys for the videos. As you can see, you know, 2 of them were my friends that are my age having babies. No, it does not make me want to rush anything, but it is very cool to see my friends starting that phase of their life, and more of them are starting soon.
It's very sweet to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you got to talk a little bit about your motherhood experience, and obviously it's going to look different for me.
Yes. How are you going to feel? I mean, you're obviously, sorry, I have to have one set. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I mean, I think for me, one, like I mentioned last episode, you already had 3 kids by the time you were my age.
Right.
So I'm going to be an older mom.
Yes.
Which I know. I've kind of always known that, though. I always knew I was going to do that because I was so career driven in the sense I wanted to make a career for myself. You always worked when we were growing up.
Right.
So
I was
for
career
me,
driven too, but I'm glad that you've traveled so much. I'm glad that you've done it this way also.
Yeah.
I just feel like for me, I'm so tired now. Like I don't know if I could have been older and done everything with you guys like we did.
And for me, I've always wanted to adopt. I was like very obsessed almost with adoption from kind of a young age. I don't even know where that started.
Well, I used to mention that a lot because remember I kept saying I can't have another baby. And I used to say, my mom mentions it all the time, well, you always said you wanted to adopt, and I always wanted to adopt another baby.
Yeah.
And I used to say that a lot. And then I said, well, maybe I'll foster, maybe I'll adopt. And then I just would think, okay, how am I going to do this? You know, I'm already working full time. I can barely handle my 3. We're so busy. And maybe just in the back of your mind, you would hear it. Maybe. I don't know.
I know that like once I saw like Annie and Anastasia then I would start to think like, oh, I want to have an orphanage and like give kids a home. And I think I'm going to get emotional. I don't know why. I'm a big crier.
Do you want tissue?
No, it's okay. No, I mean, I think for me, and the reason why I love Justine's story so much, and you'll hear from her in a sec, I think the reason why I love her story so much and hearing it is because it's something that I think now that I'm getting older, I realize that it could very much be a possibility for me, which, again, like, because adoption was something I always wanted to do, I'm very open to it. And I mean, regardless of whether or not I can have kids naturally, I will adopt, like, without a question. Or foster. I've always wanted to do that. I'm super excited for motherhood. It's not something that I was always excited about. I definitely was like, I don't want to give birth for a long time because it's just terrified me. But, you know, Jessica, like we mentioned before, as a labor delivery nurse, so that's something, like, I always felt comfortable. She kind of helped me in a way, like, not be as afraid of it. Just because I can talk to her about everything, about shitting yourself when you are pregnant, and things that I was afraid of, like, very, like, superficial things, you know? Like, oh, does your vagina get bigger? Like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Just dumb, naive things that I didn't really realize growing up.
Yeah.
And then...
Do your nipples get bigger?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, of course, Justine's journey, which, you know, like, again, is so inspiring to hear how it worked out for her, and it's not always the case. And I think that's, like, what I'm most afraid of now.
Yeah.
One of my friends' moms is actually, she works with freezing eggs. I'm totally blanking on her actual profession, her title, but we had dinner with her, and, you know, she mentioned that you should really start considering that, like, between 27 and 30. Which is definitely something to think about. I think I still have a little bit of time. I think it was between 27 and 32 or something. But it's definitely very much a possibility for me, which, again, like, I'm open to. And I think that I didn't realize I was so afraid of it until right now when I started crying. But for me, my motherhood journey is, like, I'm super excited and can't wait, but at the same time I'm super nervous that because it is going to be happening much later in life, like, what is that going to look like? Like you said, getting tired with your kids and things like that. I doubt I will ever get tired. I have way too much energy. I'm very much like my dad in that sense.
Yeah. But I think you're also excited too now because you've been around so many babies.
Yeah.
Of your cousins and your nephews that you're so good with them, and they love being around you, and I think that that's kind of giving you some excitement to, like, look forward to.
Totally. Before, when I was like, oh, I don't want to give birth, it was never that I didn't want kids. I know Brie always thinks that I meant that I didn't want kids, but no, I just didn't want to give birth to it, but them. But now I like look at it and I welcome it. Like if I can, great. If I can't, I've always wanted to adopt and want to adopt anyway, so that's great too. And to me, my motherhood doesn't look necessarily the same way as you, also because I don't necessarily think that I'll need a man to have a family or kids. If I don't, I mean, obviously, like I would love that, but at the same time, if I want a kid, I'm going to have a kid. Regardless.
Everybody's journey is different, I think. And I don't think anybody, it's not cookie cutter. You know, you can start off with a man, but that doesn't mean you have to end up with the man. You don't need a man to be a good mother.
Right.
And,
totally.
And that's fine. And, you know, what is meant to be is meant to be. But I'm excited that you want to be a mommy. And I know that I can't wait whenever it happens. Sooner or better.
Who knows? Well, Mom, there's a lot of things that need to happen first. But yeah, that is what I'm kind of expecting of motherhood. And I did not expect to break down and cry and kind of treat this as a therapy session. So just forget that happened. Well, it's definitely not going to be all tears here.
We did say tears.
I know, we did say that. And I'm not a cute crier, I already know, so... Now that I've said this, I think you have talked enough about Justine.
I know.
We are so happy to have her on the show today as our special guest. So we're going to jump on a Zoom call with her, and you guys can hear from her about her motherhood journey.
She likes to talk too. I don't know where she gets that from. So here it is. Here is Justine. But before you introduce her, I just want to say one thing. Justine, we've been talking about you the whole time. Your ears must have been burning.
Oh my God.
Justine was my very first niece. And we saw Allie cry a little bit, but I hope I don't cry.
Don't make me cry. I actually got dressed today.
I know. And it's been kind of nice that I've been showering and putting makeup on, so now it's probably going to come off. But Justine is my first niece, and she's really an inspiration to me for a lot of things. Because of her story, of course, and that's why I want you guys to meet her. But because she's kind of the rock for me. She's not just my niece, but she's my friend. I could go to her for a lot of things. But so can my kids, and that's one thing I really, really appreciate, Justine, is the fact that you're always there for my kids. I know that when I was going through a tough time with Allie, especially because she's the oldest, I'd call Justine after we moved up here, and she would just get on the flight and come up. And sometimes it wasn't just her. She'd bring along Jessica and Jackie, too, just to help out. And I will always remember that. So watching her grow up, this little girl who's the bossy one, the babysitter, the nosy one, and then watching her get married and wanting to have a family and watching her struggles really was just so, I was just so happy to be part of that. But the struggles was really hard for me to see her go through it. But then watching how she just, what do they say, when they give you lemons, make lemonade? She just like took it and made her own story, and just like, she just kind of proved what kind of a person she is. She doesn't give up. She goes for what she wants, and she's very, very strong, and I just love her for that. She's a good example
You guys are
to all
making
her
me so
cousins.
emotional.
What?
So you guys are making me so emotional.
I'm sorry. And I just love that about her, and this is why we brought her on the show, because she's a strong woman, and she's a good example to not only my kids, but to a lot of women out there who are struggling.
Justine, that was quite an introduction.
Sorry. I love you, Justine.
You are the best person, I think, to learn about this from, and just what you did. So we kind of wanted you to come on here so that other women and other aspiring moms know that it is more common than maybe we talk about, and just kind of hear your journey about that. So why don't you tell us what you envisioned your motherhood to be like, and what the reality was.
When we got married, I thought, like, I just want to be a mom. I was already a teacher. That was already crossed off my bucket list. And then the next thing was I wanted 3 kids, and I just knew for sure the minute we got married, we'd get pregnant on our honeymoon. I literally was crazy lady and bought all my pregnancy announcement stuff to surprise our parents, to put a little thing on our dog that said I'm a big sister. I was like ready to go. And then we came back and I wasn't pregnant, and I was super bummed, but you know, you just kind of like, oh, it can take a little bit of time. Well, those months turned into a lot of months, and at about 8 months along of trying, I was really heartbroken, and friends and family kept getting pregnant so easily, and I think the hardest part is like, you're so excited for them, but you're so sad for yourself that you don't want to be around them. And part of the reason I didn't want to be around people who were pregnant was I didn't want to like give off this like negativity, or for people to feel weird talking about it in front of me. Not everyone knew we were trying, because I thought it'd be super quick. Like, I was not expecting anything but a traditional motherhood journey, and that didn't happen, and that was really hard. And then through this process, I met my OB, and she referred me to an incredible doctor, Dr. Wong at Reproductive Partners, and he is amazing. Like, he was that person who brought me hope when I was just absolutely beaten and down, and he kind of lifted this boulder off my shoulders, and he made me feel safe. So I knew that this wasn't just my problem anymore. He was going to help me find a fix, and we were going to start our family. And that was amazing. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned through this whole process, is there's so many different paths to motherhood. They're not all exactly the same. No one's journey is going to look exactly the same, whether it's the traditional route, or it's the IVF, or IUI, or adoption, or fostering. There's just so many different paths to motherhood, and mine are kind of a little bit of everything. So I thought it would be easy, and I thought it would be just traditional, here we go, and it ended up being this crazy injections and shots and all of this craziness, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because it gives you like a deeper appreciation for like, I don't know any person who's pregnant who's excited to be morning sick, but my God, I loved being morning sick, because it was like a little reminder that I had this little life growing inside of me, and it was really cool. And it's cool to be like, okay, yeah, it was really shitty during that time, and my God, I struggled, but now I have these beautiful babies.
Do you ever feel that you wish that, I mean, because I personally, and I don't know if you are in the same boat, but like I said, I didn't really know that this was something that so many women go through. Do you ever feel like you wish you kind of had that conversation and knowledge brought to your attention prior to trying?
Yes, so I knew what IUI was, I knew what IVF was, mostly because of Juliana Rancic and her reality TV show. So I kind of understood the process to an extent, just from what you see on TV. But I didn't know anybody personally, besides Andrew's aunt, who had gone through the process. And obviously she'd gone through it way before I'd met Andrew. I just knew that her girls were a product of IVF, and she worked for an infertility doctor. And I thought that was really beautiful, and it was really cool, but I didn't know enough. So the idea of having to do anything outside of the traditional route of getting pregnant was really intimidating and scary. It was scarier than the process itself. Once I met my doctor, it was like, okay, we can do this, and he broke everything down step by step. But since I didn't know a lot, there was this almost sense of failure and this intense fear that I would never get the one thing I've always wanted, which was a family.
And you have 2 children with IVF, right? What is the difference between IVF and IUI, you said?
IUI is basically, they get a sample of your husband's sperm, and they clean out all the bad sperm. And so all that's left are the really good, strong, healthy sperm. And they insert it, they're sometimes called like the turkey baster method. They insert it into the uterus, and then hopefully when the egg drops, the sperm does its job and you get pregnant. And we tried that 3 times and it didn't take. So then after that, the next step is IVF. And with IVF, it's a longer process. You have to do retrieval of the eggs. So there's a process to retrieve the eggs. You have to do your shots. You have to do all the hormones. And then you go in and they basically retrieve all the eggs you harvested. And through that, they'll have them sit for a few days, and not all of them survive. And then the ones that survive, you're able to later use to transfer back in. So we transferred 2 embryos with Drew, and then Drew took, and we were pregnant and so excited. And while that was all happening, my motherhood journey went a little cuckoo crazy, and my husband's a firefighter, and while he was working one day, there was a baby that was safe surrendered at his fire station, and I was bed rest at home. My mom was actually with me that day, and he kept calling my cell phone, but I was watching this movie, and I kept declining. And on the third call, I finally answered, and I was like, "What's up? Like, what do you want?" And he had kind of like a choke in his voice, and if you know Andrew, he is not an emotional.
No, I don't think I've ever seen him cry
once. No, he's only cries really with Amina. That's it. And we had there was a safe surrender baby at the fire station, and it was our little Miss Amina. We talked prior to even getting married about adopting in the future, and it was always something I really wanted to do. And he was on board because he was important to me, but it wasn't that important to him. And then this baby shows up at the fire station, and Andrew was like instantly in love, and I wanted her right away. So he was like, "How are we gonna do this? You're on bed rest, this is crazy." And between both of our moms, like, they are nuts. They would live in the garage on bunk beds if we asked them to. So we went through the process, and 10 days later we got custody of our little Miss Amina. She was 38 days old and 6 pounds, and she was just the cutest, sweetest little baby ever. And I was 5 months pregnant, super morning sick, and it was like the happiest time of my life. It was amazing.
I remember that. Yeah, and really though, she is like your angel. Again, you know, obviously we talk about how our background is Catholicism, and we believe very heavily into this kind of spiritual aspect. And I mean, you were having such a hard time with Drew in your pregnancy, and then Amina kind of came in and relieved that stress almost.
Oh yeah. I was on strict bed rest with Drew because I had placenta previa. So I was on super strict bed rest. Like, only got up to go to the bathroom, couldn't shower every day. I was had to give up my teaching job, and I was heartbroken about that. And it just so happened that the day we went to court to get custody of Amina, I hadn't felt Drew move at all, and that was just something my doctor had said. If your placenta doesn't move, there's a good chance you'll never feel the baby, but just know he's healthy. I could see him in ultrasounds, and he'd roll and kick. He was like this active little guy. And I'd said my prayers that night and was like, you know, I hope that we get this baby, and God, it's in your hands. And when I went to lay down, all of a sudden I felt these little thumps, and I was like, what the heck is that? Like, what the heck? And kind of sat still and was like, is it? No? And then I felt it again. And then from that point on, I could feel Drew. So I kind of felt like that was like his way of being like, Mom, it's going to be okay. Like, our sister's coming. Yeah. And then when we got Amina, my favorite story I always tell them is I'd always sing like, "You Are My Sunshine" to her. And like, as I'd rock her to sleep, and the minute I'd start singing, Drew would kick, like he'd flip in my belly, and he'd like kick up and kick her in her little butt. And it was like the coolest thing ever. That's like my favorite story ever.
They were so connected even before he was born.
Yeah.
And they're best friends now. Like, he had Cher on Zoom the other day, and we had Amina, and he wanted to share his sister. So our whole plan when we got custody of Amina was to foster to adopt. And we were granted like a really special title. It's called NRFM, Non-Related Extended Family Member. Since she was dropped off at Andrew's fire station and handed to Andrew, we kind of got this special clearance because we hadn't gone through any of this fostering classes or the process to be foster parents. And then they were going to expedite our adoption, and then her mom's biological sister came forward to get custody of her. And how it works is biological family always gets priority. So at the time I was devastated, I was scared, I was all of those things. We'd already had Amina for 3 months, and that was my baby. Like, the minute I picked her up from the social worker's office, like, there was that feeling, like the same feeling when they place the baby on your chest after you deliver, and it's like, oh, my baby. That's how I felt with her. And so the idea of losing her was devastating. And I didn't know her family at that point, and just the prospect was terrifying. And we ended up losing custody of her. And it was really sad. I don't think there was a dry eye in the courtroom.
I remember getting the call when I was in New York, and
all of us.
I didn't even know what to do. I just I left my office without telling anyone, and I just sat by Chelsea Pierce. I was working at Stella at the time, and I was just sitting there, just like,
I was sobbing. It was just like a really, really sad day for a lot of us.
It was so heart-wrenching, and I know that when I share it with my friends, like, the
and everybody wants to know about it.
It's so special, though, because of what ended up coming of it. So tell us a little bit about that.
When we lost custody, I thought that was it. And so the day we took her, it was the worst day of my life. We packed up my car with all of her baby stuff. It was like loaded, like top to bottom. I had bins of clothes, all labeled. I had like a full PDF of her nighttime routine, what soap she could use, what diapers, what wipes, because she had sensitive skin. Like, I was like this crazy mom. Her bouncer, everything she could possibly need, we loaded that, plus more, because that was my baby. I wanted to make sure she was okay. And we dropped her off, and when we went to leave, I started crying. And her aunt came over, Tamara, and she hugged me, and she's like, "You need to stop crying. This isn't the end. You're going to see her again." And in my head, I was like, yeah, right, like, whatever, you know. And I was so angry, and I was pregnant, and I was so sad. And then it started off really slowly, where we got visitation, not court ordered, just out of the goodness of Tamara's heart. We drive out to Victorville, which is like 3 hours away. We drive out once a week, and we pick Mina up for 1 hour, and we take her to Barnes & Noble, and I'd read her every book I could squeeze in, and then we buy her a book, and we take her home. So we did that for 3 weeks, and then I was getting really pregnant and really uncomfortable, and so Tamara started letting us have her for 24 hours. Andrew would pick her up at 7 in the morning and take her home the next day at 7 in the morning. And then once Drew was born, that 24 hours turned into weekends. And so since then, we've got this really great rapport. We have an awesome relationship now, where we get her every other weekend like a divorced couple. Andrew will pick her up on Fridays. We take her to school on Mondays. And we're not mom and dad, but she's our baby. And the kids call her sister. And Amina calls me Nina, godmother. And she calls Andrew Nino, and sometimes Dada. And Drew is her brother, and B is her sister, and we just have this big, crazy family, but it's perfect. And you know, her aunt has a really good heart and takes really good care of her, and she has 5 other siblings over there. She has all this family here, so she kind of gets the best of both worlds. She gets her biological family who loves her and is going to teach her everything about their culture and their history, and then she has all of us. She has this huge, gigantic family, an extended family, who just adore her and would give her the world. And she's got it all, that little girl.
I know.
She's so loved. She's so good. And then Bia comes along, and she's a nut.
My mini me. I freaking love her.
Now we have Bia. So 2 years later, we did our next IVF transfer. We transferred 2 embryos and ended up with this little firecracker, baby Allie. She's out of control and hilarious. She's our crazy bee, and she just keeps us all on our toes. She's freaking a nut job, but she's we love her. We'll keep her.
So now you have 3 kids. I'm excited to see, you know, what your future holds and continues with motherhood, because I know that it's still continuing for you. What is your advice to women who are struggling with infertility? And obviously they're not alone in this, and not everyone's story turns out as beautifully as yours, and it's super challenging. But for moms who are mom-to-bees who are starting that process of looking into it, what is your biggest advice to them regarding that?
For people who are still going through this, or who are just kind of starting this process, I know that it's scary, but you're not alone. And I think that the biggest thing that I didn't do right away was tell people about it. So you try to hold it in and deal with it by yourself, and that's just not manageable. And you need to be able to talk about it and cry and have a bottle of wine with your girlfriends or your mom or your aunts or your sisters, whoever it is. I'd only told a few people when I started trying, and keeping it in was really hard. But the minute I started talking about it, it was this huge breath of fresh air. And then when you start looking at doctors, find someone who you trust and who cares about you, and you can tell right away when they really care about you. it's, you know, how I felt at reproductive partners. I walked in, not only did I have Teresa, Andrew's aunt, but I had this incredible doctor who really cared and took time to answer every single one of my questions. And then when we left the office and I sent him an email asking 5,000 more, he responded and called me back right away to, you know, really go into an in-depth explanation. And I appreciated that. And I am forever indebted to them for starting my family. But I just want you to know you're not alone. This is a really hard road to travel. And so make sure you invite other people on with you because it makes it a lot easier. And I'm praying for you. And I know my family does too. That's one of my prayers every night is for all those who are struggling to start a family, for those who lost a child. My heart is with you guys always.
Yeah, I have a question. You said there's two different methods of doing this. The first method you use and then the second method. Are they different on your body? Is one harder than the other?
IUI can be done with drugs or without. Mine were done without drugs. And it's really easy. You just feel like a lot of cramping after the fact, like as if you have a really bad period. Whereas IVF is you are doing injections in your butt, in your tummy. You're doing estrogen, progesterone. You're taking baby Tylenol. You have all these, it's like this whole process. That's a lot harder on your body than doing the IUI. But I don't think really, maybe because I knew there was like going to be a great end result, they didn't bother me terribly. Like I knew there was a purpose for all of this, and so I just went through it, and no big deal for the most part. The only hard part I thought was when you're trying to harvest your eggs to create embryos, is the night before you go in for retrieval, they have to, it's called a trigger shot. It's this giant shot, and it's this huge boost of hormones, like to make them mature overnight. And the needle was like this freaking big. It was like, ah! So my mom had to come over. She made me this delicious meal, and then had to give me my shot. And this is kind of like an indicator if you're gonna have like morning sickness or not. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and was sick so badly, and I think I've hated broccoli ever since.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that although the process is scary, like you said, it's so great to hear women talk about it more and more. And, you know, one of my older bosses opened up about miscarriages that she's had. And, like, that's something we never really talk about. Like, we had 2 miscarriages, and it's very common for women to go through this. And it's, you know,
it's hard to talk about.
So hard to talk about. And I think that's so important for people who are maybe, you know, nervous about motherhood or want it so badly, but are in the same situation where they can't get, you know, pregnant the old-fashioned way. I mean, thank God for science that there's options.
Right.
And outside of science, if you don't go through that, there's other ways that you can be a mom. And I think that that's so beautiful that, one, people are talking about it more and open to it more. And
it's good to know that everybody can
that
be
people are going
a parent.
Every route, journey, whatever road takes you to motherhood, yeah, maybe it's not what you had envisioned. I know I didn't envision IVF or fostering or any of that stuff, but it kind of shapes you. And I feel like, I hate when people used to tell me like everything happens for a reason. It drove me nuts, but I really do believe that everything happens for a reason, especially now. Like when I look back, it all makes sense how everything kind of fell into place.
And you are a great mother, and your kids are lucky to have you.
Yeah. And you have this like beautiful outlet now and blogging about it. So for everyone watching who is inspired by this story or wants to know more about it, or if you have questions, let us know where we can follow you.
So Instagram at Justine Vidovich, and it's all my kids and what I eat. And that's it.
The best part are the kids, honestly.
I have to agree, they're pretty darn cute.
Well, we love you, Justine. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for sharing your story.
Love you. Can't wait to see you.
Love you guys.
So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank
We
you,
definitely
Justine.
did.
Love you.
And I hope that, you know, through her story that she
inspired you.
Or like if you are someone who's struggling with infertility, you can find hope in this.
Yes.
And if that's also not your story, then, you know, we'd love to hear from you and talk about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Tijana, actually, she's a co-founder of Female Narratives, this creative agency. And they produce this amazing video as well, because as special as Mother's Day is to you and to the mothers in our lives that are just amazing, it's also a really hard day for a lot of people who want to be mothers, and maybe IVF didn't work for them, and or they, who knows, but each one of them gets to share a little bit about their story in that video that she produced. So I wanted to make sure to also link that down below in the description. Have your tissues ready. It's a beautiful video and you'll definitely cry like I just did.
It's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry. And now we want to introduce some of the mamas who are a little bit more experienced than the first timers. They have 2 or more kiddos at home, but their kids are still young. So here's some advice from them, and also what they love most about motherhood and what is the most challenging part of it.
Yes.
Which I think is really nice to hear, because it's not always rainbows and butterflies. It's compromise that moves us along.
Really? Wow, that was deep.
That's a song. She's good.
The things like during the day that I love the most are when my boys come up to me and just want to be held or sit in my lap and cuddle and hold my hand. We give each other kisses. It's just that moment of like in the day that brings so much joy to me and to my soul. And knowing that they're a piece of me and a part of me, I think that it would be like my favorite part of being a mom on a daily basis. Challenges. There's a lot of challenges. I would say, especially right now, but this is true pre-coronavirus, is just finding balance with everything. Balance for myself, getting out, getting to the gym, going to have lunch with a girlfriend, having dinner with a friend, spending time with my husband, making sure our house is clean, while also making sure that my boys are loved unconditionally and I'm stimulating them throughout the day. So balance is huge. And I wish there were more time in the day for me to, I don't know, take a shower, do my hair. But balance. That would be the thing that I think is most challenging for a mom, specifically me. And lastly, my advice to a new mom, I would say to be kind to yourself. You don't know all the answers. You never will know all the answers. Don't compare yourself to others. There's not one way to do this. There's not a right way or a wrong way, but there's your way. And just be kind. Don't worry if you can't have a natural birth and your best friend did. Don't worry if you are rushed into an emergency C-section and you wanted to deliver vaginally. Don't worry if you can't breastfeed and you're doing formula, or if you don't want to breastfeed and you choose to do formula. If you feed your kid McDonald's, it's okay. Just be kind to yourself. And I think that if they know they're loved, that's the most important thing. So happy Mother's Day to all you mamas. We have quite a job and it's quite a remarkable journey. So happy Mother's Day.
Hey everyone, I'm Jessica. I am a mother to 3. I have Tommy, Luna, and, oh, this fell off your head, Macy. She's our youngest and she is 9 months. Hi, are you waving? That's her first wave. Hi. Good job, Mama. Today we are talking about what I love about motherhood, and it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint because just in general, I love just being a mom. I love having that responsibility and that privilege. I love breastfeeding. I love being pregnant. I love giving birth. I love meeting them for the first time. I love holding them. I love kissing them. I love smelling them. I love watching them light up when new things happen and when they get something. I love helping them conquer their biggest fears. I love watching them explore and learn the world. I love relearning the world through their eyes, and I love being silly with them. I love jumping around with them and dancing with them. Oh, I love their sloppy kisses. I love snuggling with them at night. Honestly, I just love being a mom, and it's such a privilege, and I don't take that lightly. I think the hardest part about being a mom, despite like the sleepless nights and the tantrums out in public, or like the cost that comes along with, you know, diapers and clothes and shoes and growing fast and activities. The hardest part about being a mom is the mental games that we play with ourselves. And I think I could speak for most moms when I say that at the end of the night, when you think about, you know, how you failed or how you lost it with the tantrum, or how you weren't as great as you wanted to be, I think that is the hardest part. And overcoming that and realizing, okay, tomorrow is a brand new day, let's start over and I'm gonna rock the shit out of it. That's the hardest part. But other than that, I think motherhood in general is so rewarding, and it's such a learning experience for me. And it's such an amazing privilege to be able to raise human beings to be loving, to be beautiful, to be bright, to be cheery, and to be someone who's going to change the world. So thank you. That's my motherhood. Hugs and kisses. Bye.
My favorite part of parenting or motherhood, which is by far watching my little ones grow up and become their own selves. The weirdness, the random bits, the craziness, the quirkiness, all of that is just by far my favorite, watching them learn. And I would say the hardest part is definitely for me balance between life, work, friends, husband, kids, personal time has been really hard to find time for, and taking it when I need to take it. And then I would say some of the best advice would be to try to make sure you're splitting that workload with your partner and try to make it as even as you can, 50-50, and to not be too hard on yourself, which is a lot easier said than done. But that would be my best advice. So happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Thank you, ladies.
We really loved seeing those, and again, loved hearing that motherhood's not always easy, because, you know, as much as you love it, there are hard parts, and I think it's really important for new moms or moms to hear that not everyone has it perfect, and it's not perfect, and that you can get through it.
We're all humans. We're all humans, and it's great to know that we're all in it together.
You know, our stages of our relationship are so vast in the sense that we went from like so hot and cold constantly in high school. Mm-hmm. In middle school, I don't remember really having any issues, and it really wasn't until my junior year of high school.
Right, you were fine.
Where shit hit the fan.
Yes.
Before that, I wasn't drinking freshman year, sophomore year.
I mean, if you did, it wasn't an issue until 11th grade, and then I guess you started drinking and wanted to stay out late, and you got mad because I would tell her.
I always hated the curfew.
I know. I said 10th grade, okay, you get be home at 10. 11th grade, be home at 11. 12th grade, be home at 12. She would get so mad.
You also would be like, you can't go to Jesse's house without adults there.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? Like, if you could see what we were doing, we would literally watch Summer Heights High in her living room. Like, we were just, like, hanging out.
Yeah, but
yet
at
you'd
that,
be like,
but you wouldn't tell me what was going on.
yeah.
So
well, that
if
was
you
the
would've-
issue. That's like my biggest regret of high school is really just not talking to you, because like I think now, like, we talk about anything and everything. I will go on a first date, kid you not, and call my mom. But yeah, I mean, I think that we've come a long way. High school really pushed our boundaries.
But we're at a good place now. For you moms out there who have younger kids or you have high school kids and you think, is this ever going to end? And you're like, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong, just so you know. It's them. Just kidding.
It is. I can agree with that.
They go through things and you're not doing anything wrong per se, but I think that it's just everybody goes through different things and you just have to be strong, be there for them, and don't kill them. But you will see light at the end of the tunnel, let me tell you.
And some other moms who know this to be true have also sent us a message. So here's from all of our veteran mamas who now have kids that are grown up, that are my age or older. Some of them even have kids of their own.
Yes, some of them are grandmas.
So we got a little clip from them as well. So here you go.
I know the saying, it takes a village to raise a family, can sometimes be overused, but Gabby, I know that you could relate that the village that we created when we were raising our children is probably one of the things that brought me the most joy as a mother, and my family the most joy. Creating a village brought me the most support in times of need. It gave me people to go to that had already been through what I had been through, that had older children, and it also allowed me to be that for some of you that had children that were younger than mine. So if there's one thing I would say to moms, it is find your village, and you will absolutely find your peace and find joy for your whole family.
I would have to say the favorite part of mine, of being a mother, would be the relationship with my kids that grew and changed through their lives and grew into a beautiful friendship as we're now older and they are adults. And I think my biggest challenge was probably when I was working full-time downtown Los Angeles and had to drive to work every day, and so I was away from them a lot, which was hard for me, but it all worked out. And let's see, my advice to new moms would be just take it easy, enjoy the moment. It's easy to say now, but enjoy the moment and enjoy every step and change they make along the way. It's all going to be wonderful. Thanks. Happy Mother's Day.
Where do I start? It is fun to watch them blossom. I've enjoyed the good, the bad, and the ugly. And trust me, there's a lot of that to go around. But at the end of the day, I can walk away knowing we gave it our all, we did our best, and we get to watch our kids, like I said, blossom and see what they become. What's the biggest challenge? Well, I have 3 kids. Each one is very individual. One will follow the rules. The other will follow the rules but at her own pace. And the third, the oldest, was just easy. I think learning how to individually raise them. Each one of them have their own personalities, and it's important that when you're raising kids that you understand that and you apply different tactics to the kids so that they can respond positively. My third, who is the youngest, is quite a challenge in that she knows what she wants, and I don't want to kill that spirit, but she also needs to understand that we have rules that we follow. So she's been my biggest challenge, but also a huge reward. I look at my kids, I think I did pretty well, so I think I can give a little bit of advice. The first thing is this: Do not compare them to other children, ever. They will grow at their own pace. Embrace that. Don't compare them to charts. Don't compare them to other children. Kids even out when they become toddlers. And if they don't, then you work with what you have. But never, ever, ever make yourself feel bad, guilty, if your child isn't hitting certain marks. They're individual. That's what makes them so special. So I think my biggest recommendation is enjoy them and sit back and watch them take off.
I'm Auntie Margot, and I am a mother of 4, and I have 7 grandchildren. So one of the questions was, what is your favorite part about being a mother? And my favorite part about being a mother is being in a relationship that never ends and a love that never dies. I have 3 girls and 1 boy, and well, man, and they're all grown. All my children are grown. And I just love the part of being a mother that is loving, caring, hard. I love hard. I enjoy becoming a grandmother, which my name is Nana. And just the favorite part about being a mother is just that this love never ends. It's ongoing. They're becoming my friends as well as just being my children. And then the second one part of that question is what is the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge is not being able to stop their testimony. I always tell my children, I gave you the foundation, I planted the seeds in you, I trained you up in the Word, in the Lord, and so I can't stop their testimony of life. The hurt inside that's so deep that makes you want to cry. But most of all, I know that I can stand on God's promises, and my kids will do what they do, and I know they have a foundation. They'll come back, and they'll come back to the Lord. They'll either come back to just realization of being a wonderful child. My advice to new moms is you become a new mom with each child. If you have 1, 2, 3, or 4, each child is different, and so you become a mom, a new mom, every time you give birth. My children are all different. Every last one of them, all 4 of them. You got to speak the truth as a new mom. When you become a mom, you got to speak the truth. You got to love your children enough to be able to tell them what's right or wrong. You're always going to be their advocate, but you have to also recognize when your child is wrong or when your child is right. And then trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. Know each child is different. And I think that's it. That's all I have. And I love you guys. Take care.
Thank you guys so much for those videos. It's always good, I think, to pass on what you've learned.
I know, it's great. And that was really nice what you guys said. I really appreciate you guys participating. It really means a lot to us. For me, something that my mom said is for us to be patient. And I know that she would be like, it's okay, just be patient. And I remember too, during these times, when in high school, when Allie was giving me a hard time, she would tell me a lot, oh, just be patient with her. Oh, just, oh, it's okay, just let her. So I think about that a lot because I do, get frustrated sometimes, but then I realize that I need to step back and be patient. And I really hate being angry with my kids. And the one thing I know that I think we all do, we'll get in a fight And then none of us like to be in a fight. We don't like to not speak. So we'll get in a fight, and then the next thing you know, it's, she's jumping on my bed or I'm jumping on her bed, and we just kind of like, okay, we made up.
You give me advice all the time, and whether it's verbally telling me something or physically showing me, I learn so much from you every day. But I think one of my favorite things, which doesn't necessarily have to do with motherhood, but like in general, just great advice that I've received from you is, in which I will definitely pass down to my kids, is to treat everyone with the utmost respect at all times. So just having that level of respect for everyone. And I think that that's something that I've carried throughout my life, my 28 years of life. I'm never, ever turn down a conversation with someone because of their occupation or their social status or whatever. To me, that's unimportant. It's who you are as a person, and treating everybody that way. So that's my favorite advice from you. I cannot tell if your eyes are watering.
They are kind of right now. That was cute.
I know.
So last but not least, it wouldn't be Mother's Day without me asking my own mama a few questions.
So we asked my Wita, what do you like more, being a grandma or being a mom? And we asked her what her advice is to moms.
A mí me gusta ser mamá y ser abuela. Me gustan las dos cosas porque de las dos he tenido experiencia, tanto de mamá como de abuela, y las dos son bonitas. Yo les recomiendo a las nuevas mamás que quieran mucho a sus niños, los cuiden mucho, porque pronto crecen y cuando ya menos piensas ya se van a la high school y ya no los tienes igual en la casa.
Pues gracias, Wita. We loved the videos.
Gracias, Wita.
Well, this is obviously a very emotional, both happy and sad episode for us. But we really loved doing it. We love celebrating strong women in our lives. They're not always mothers, but just women in general.
Yes.
Man, we are fierce. And a special celebration of mothers today in this episode. The mothers who were there for us, whether it was a mom or my aunts or my family friends who are pretty much considered aunts, my Auntie Jackie and Auntie Christine, who made the videos that you guys saw.
Thank you all who participated, and we're happy you came back to episode 2. Cheers! This time we have wine.
Cheers!